Greetings everyone, welcome to video number 30 in the project management series presented by Process Geekoid. Today's agenda will be going over reviewing the PMBOK process table as well as a 27th process, which is the Plan Human Resource Management process. It is also known as Plan Resource Management in the PMBOK 6 book. This process occurs at the intersection of the HR knowledge area and the planning process group. As always, please subscribe, like, and comments. So let's move forward. Plan Human Resource Management includes the process of identifying and documenting project roles, responsibilities, required skills, reporting relationships, and creating a staffing management plan. The staffing management plan provides a timetable for staff acquisition and release. The key benefit of this process is it establishes project roles, responsibilities, project organization charts, and a staffing management plan. Note the staffing management plan, along with the org charts and roles and responsibilities, all fall under as a subsidiary plan that fits under the HR management plan. And overall, Plan HR management is used to organize, manage, and lead a project team. Now for the ITTO's inputs, tools, techniques, and outputs for Plan Human Resource Management are as follows. For inputs, we have the project management plan. This includes the project lifecycle processes in each phase, how the work will be executed to accomplish the project objectives, change management plan that documents how changes will be monitored or controlled, configuration management plan that documents how configuration will be managed or performed, how integrity of a project baseline will be maintained, stakeholders' methods of communication. These all fall under the project management plan. Next input is activity resource requirements. This is coming as an output from estimate activity resources in the schedule knowledge planning area. Then you have EEFs, or enterprise environmental factors, factors that are outside of the project team's control. Examples include labor/immigration policies or marketplace conditions that influence the availability of specific resources. Also, organizational culture and structure, existing human resources, geographical dispersion of teams, i.e. virtual teams, and personnel administration policies. Next input is OPAs, organizational process assets, that include organizational standards and policies, and role descriptions along with templates for role descriptions, lessons learned on org structure that worked in prior projects, escalation processes and procedures to handling issues with team resources and within the organization. For tools, we have organizational charts and position descriptions. Examples are shown here, and an example is right here. We have organizational chart. Within the chart, you have text-oriented formats that explain what each position is doing, the roles, responsibilities, and authorities. Then you have networking, which is nothing but networking within the company to find suitable resources, or networking outside of the organization and getting the right people into your team and interacting with them to get them onboarded. Next, you have organizational theory, which we'll go over in detail next. Then you have expert judgment and meetings, as always. Pretty much you could have the HR department serve as your expert judgment and conduct meetings with the potential candidates as an interview. Then you would have HR management plan as your output. Now the HR management plan consists of 3 parts: roles and responsibilities, which consist of role, authority, competency, and responsibility. So the role piece is where the function is assumed by or assigned to a person in the project. A role usually coincides with the job title. It describes the type of work that needs to be done. For example, a project manager will manage the project. Authority, the right to apply project resources, make decisions, sign approvals, accept deliverables, and influence others to carry out the work of the project. Team members operate best when their individual levels of authority match their individual responsibilities. An example of this is going to be decisions made by the PM that help the project succeed. They make sure that they have the right change request procedures in place, they plan everything accordingly, and get everyone on the same page through the use of meetings, and get all stakeholders and team members engaged. Then you have responsibility, the assigned duties and work that a project team member is expected to perform in order to complete the project activity. Example of this could be a project manager is used to conduct meetings and maintain a meeting minute log, and also escalate issues to senior management to get fixed. Or in the case of a business analyst or developer, their duty is to focus strictly on getting requirements or developing software or writing code. Competency, the skill and capacity required to complete assigned activities within the project constraints. If a project team members do not possess required competencies, then a performance can be jeopardized. So when this happens, it's usually best to get a different person in or retrain the individual provided they learn quickly enough, and rehiring and schedule changes or scope changes are going to be done. Then you have staffing management plan, which is also a part of the human resource management plan. And the staffing management plan is basically going to explain right here, describes when and how a project team member will be acquired and how long they will be needed. So it consists of staff acquisition, deals with questions like whether the human resources come from within the organization or from the outside, whether the team members need to work in a central location or may work from distant locations, aka remotely. Then you have resource calendars, and these are calendars that identify the working days and shifts on which each specific resource is available. And also within that calendar, you also have resource histograms that show the charting of human resources. You can see here that the line is drawn at 40 hours. This kind of coincides with the resource leveling concept we talked about in schedule knowledge area, where we would like to level our resources so we don't go above 40 hours. Well, this right here shows the example of resource leveling where we are cutting off the excess hours, and then this will prolong the schedule by chopping off the excess and moving them on later on in the timeline, which will delay the schedule. But needless to say, resource histograms are just used to illustrate the number of hours a person or a department will be needed in a given time period. And the horizontal line represents the maximum number of hours, aka 40 hours a week, that each resource is available for. And bars that extend beyond the maximum available hours identify the need for a resource optimization strategy such as resource leveling, as we can see here. So the next piece of the plan is going to be the org chart. Is part of the HR management plan. And you can see that it will consist of having the text-oriented position descriptions along with org charts that consist of RACI matrix. So RACI matrix is an example of a responsibility assignment matrix. Note, you can have multiple people that are responsible and can be informed and can be consulted. However, you can only have one person that is accountable, where the buck stops with them in terms of the successful completion of that activity. So in this example, you can see that the project charter is basically accountable by Anne to be done. Then for collect requirements, you have Ben. Submit change request, Ben is also accountable for that. Anne is accountable for developing the test plan. However, you have other places where you have multiple responsible people that will report to the accountable person to get that change request done. So here you have Carlos and Diana, that they will work on submitting the change request, but it's ultimately up to Ben to sign off on it. So that's basically an example of a matrix-based chart. And keep in mind that the RACI matrix is an example of a responsibility assignment matrix. This will be definitely a trick question on the exam where they'll like to confuse you into saying that a RAM and RACI are the same thing. Remember, RACI is a type of RAM. It is a type of responsibility assignment matrix. So basically you can see here in the green and yellow and blue the intersection between organizational breakdown structure, basically taking the org charts and the work breakdown structure that we did in Sculpt, creates a responsibility assignment matrix. The intersection of those is the responsibility assignment matrix, and this will help in assigning work more easily. As you can see using the RACI matrix, this right here is taking the activities from the work breakdown structure and then assigning it to individuals based on their duties using the organizational breakdown structure. So that's basically why the RACI is a type of a RAM. Then next we have organizational project charts. Here this shows an example of an org chart of a projectized organization, and the org chart shows where the project manager and a project management office is the head of the organization. But in most organizations there is a balanced matrix that exists between the project manager and functional managers. A company is usually broken down into functional departments like IT, human resources, CFO, CEO, CIO, and various other departments such as accounting. So typically you do have hierarchies, but it depends. Sometimes you might have the PM on top, sometimes you have another functional manager on top, so it depends on the company structure and the overall culture of the company. So this will vary based on the company that you're working for. Next we have organizational theory, and organizational theory shows that this will be tested on the PMP exam, and these are easy questions to get correct, so I highly recommend you study these. So org theories, for example, the first one is contingency theory. It was presented by Fred Fiedler and is based on the relationship between leadership style and the actual situation. So situations have three dimensions: a leader-member relationship, degree of task structure, and leader's positional power. So the relationship that the leader has with its members, the task structure, how it's broken down by the different team members, and the leader's positional power as to how they will influence the project success. Then you have situational leadership theory. This is developed by Blanchard and Paul Hershey. The leader's positional power is obtained through formal authority, which is the third most important dimension of the situation, plus environmental factors in a workplace. So there is no single best type of leadership according to this theory, and the project manager must lead based on the situations that are present. So for example, a task versus relationship orientation is a classic example of Blanchard and Paul Hershey's situational leadership theory. So in a stressful and demanding times, a task-oriented leader will be more effective. In contrast, in a calm and peaceful time, a relationship-oriented leader will be more effective. But you need to have a balance between the two to have a successful project in place. So that sums up this video. And just going back, the outputs, the HR management plan is your output, and we just talked about how the roles, responsibilities, organizational charts, and staffing management plan all fall under the HR management plan as the output. And the key benefit of this process is that it establishes project roles and responsibilities and project org charts and staffing management plan that include a timetable for staff acquisition and release. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment.